Welcome to Beauty Superstars Talk, your backstage pass to experts in beauty. My name is Miki Wright, and each and every week I have the privilege to interview Black beauty bosses who are doing amazing things in the beauty industry. We give voice to their stories and celebrate their excellence while they drop nuggets to help all of us become better beauty pros and better entrepreneurs. More than a podcast, this is a movement to encourage Black excellence, entrepreneurship, to preserve our history, and to bring healing to the beauty industry. It's been said, if you want to be the best, you have to hang out with the best. As someone who went from struggling hairstylist to winning awards, becoming an educator, and owner of one of the 200 fastest growing salons in the country, I am committed to bringing you the tips, tricks, and secrets of success from the best the beauty industry has to offer. So if you love beauty, business, and peeking backstage like I do, let's go. Hello, everyone. This is Miki Wright with Beauty Superstars Talk, and I want to invite you to join us for a really special edition. And it's Living a Life of Beauty with Ruby Wright, who happens to be my mother. And she's going to be here tonight to tell her story about many years in the beauty industry and having seen a lot of different things come and go. And she's definitely my inspiration in the industry, and I watched a lot of things as a kid growing up, but I'm excited to have her here so she can basically tell her story, share some things that I may not know, and also share some things with you guys that may help you with navigating this industry and making your career more successful. So welcome, Mom.
Hi, Miki.
Hi. And I usually start out with kind of a biography, but I'm not sure how to do that this time. But basically, my mom went to cosmetology school when I was an infant, so I'll be telling my age somewhere through here. Left the industry for a little while to raise us and went back into the industry. Has been an educator for the schools, for cosmetology schools. She's been a salon owner, several salons, had teams that she's taken from their infancy coming right out of school and grown them into super successful stylist. And she's continued her legacy and interest of beauty and art and has created a new career space for herself. So all of that said, it's like, I'll let you come on in.
Thank you.
I really like to start out just kind of finding out like how you got into the industry. I know about when you started, and I recently found out about when you really started as a kid. Can you tell us like a little bit as far as like how you got interested in, in beauty and cosmetology?
Yeah, I think it probably did start from when I was a kid. My mother used to press my hair, and most of us can relate to that. And of course, she wasn't skilled because she wasn't trained. So she would burn me quite a lot, especially when I was like about 7 or 8. And one day when I was about 8, I told her, I said, guess what? I could probably do my own hair. And so she said, really? And so she was, very tired of doing it anyway. So she was happy to turn it over to me. So I think that's when I first got kind of interested. And then another situation was my father used to send me to the beauty shop every Saturday when I was like 10, 11. And since I was a child, they would have me there all day. I'd be there from 9 in the morning to 5 in the evening because they would never get to me. So, because I was a kid, they just had me sit over there or run errands to the store. Mm-hmm. And so I would sit there all day watching how they were working. And, it wasn't, in my estimate, I wasn't a child yet. I just didn't think it was really expedient what they were doing. And I was like, oh, that could be done better. I would think that to myself as I was there all day, going back and forth to the store to get them something, some refreshments or whatever. So then that was another time that I got really, really interested. And then I later on started to do, especially my younger sister's hair. I did her hair probably every week or so. And her hair was about, I'd say, a good inch at best. Mm-hmm. And so I would tell her that she had Shirley Temple curls. Young people might not know what they are. Now they call them spiral curls. And so she would believe that they were Shirley Temple curls because her big sister told them. She said she got in a lot of fights at school because people told her she didn't have no Shirley Temple curls. And she said, yes, I do, because my sister says I had them, So I would do her hair all the while I was still at home or whatever. She's 8 years younger than me. So that was another time when I knew that I liked doing it. Then later on, I went away to college, went to Wayne State University in Detroit. And in the dorm, most people would ask me, who does your hair? And I said, well, I do my own hair. And they would say, would you do mine? And so I said, yeah, because I love doing it, And I never thought about charging anybody anything. I could have got a quarter or 50 cents back then real easy, because it only cost like $2.50 at the salon. So I could have got a couple of pennies. But anyway, they would wash their own hair and sit outside my dorm room like they were at a salon. And then I would get them pressed out, and we'd roll them up with some gel that was called Dr. Ellis. And it cost 10 cents for a nice big jar of this gel. And so that was later on. So I'm still interested. So I did that while I was in school, in the dorm and all that kind of thing. Then later on, I moved to California. And hair was just the biggest thing. The perm, the relaxer was a big deal at that time. It was a brand new thing. And so hair was just really something in California. And I remember once I called a salon to see if I could get a press and curl. And the man said, oh, you're talking about horse and buggy days. Ain't nobody doing no pressing no hair. They was all doing relaxers, So I started beauty school there, actually. And it's so long ago, I don't remember the name of the school. I don't remember how many hours I got or anything. But I was still interested. So then we moved back to Detroit. And then Miki was born. And I saw that as a chance to go to beauty school, go to the whole situation, take the whole course. And so that's what I did while she was a newborn. She was about 6 weeks old when I started beauty school. I used to use her for my roller set model and while she's in the high chair. I don't know. We had a picture of that somewhere, but I don't know where it got away to. She was my little model, and I got through beauty school. And then I went to work for Federal's department stores. It was a big novelty then for African Americans to be in the same salon getting their hair done with Caucasians. And so that was really a big deal. And the person who was my boss ended up being my very best friend throughout life. In fact, she just passed away this year, but we remained friends all these many years. But so that's a little bit of background. I finished beauty school in 1965. Got my license in 1965. So that's a little ways back.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I've
Gonna ask you about some of the years when you were talking about hairstyles costing $2.50. Around what time frame was that in terms of what?
Oh, that was in, let's see, 250, 64, the early 60s.
Okay.
Somewhere in the early 60s, it cost $2. And I remember the luster silk. I don't know how many people remember luster silk, but luster silk came out back there, and that was an innovation. And that was going to cost $25 for 3 treatments of it. Mm-hmm. Now, back then, $25 was a fortune. And so the hairdresser would have a payment plan with the $25. You could split that up in about 4 ways or something like that. You could manage to get that,
Okay.
Yeah, but still, yeah.
So what was the luster silk treatment?
Luster silk? Luster silk was, how can I explain it? How can I relate it to something now, huh? It was something to soften the hair, so when you pressed it, it would hold the press longer. That's basically what it was.
Mm-hmm. Like a smoothing treatment?
Yeah, something like that, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So that was a big deal to be able to get a luster silk. Like I said, $25, back then was like, yeah, people can't imagine how low the numbers were with anything, but also salaries were very, very low,
Right.
So it all kind of went together.
Exactly.
And then hair, it went on up to maybe $5. Oh, that was really, really up there. And then it went on up to $8 and $12. And we all know where it's at now,
Right.
Yeah. But sometimes people ask me when I'm going to just, give it all up or whatever. I said, they had to take me out on a gurney. I said, I paid a whole bunch of dues,
Right.
But when you love doing hair, you don't do it for money. And so you don't really care nothing about the money to that extent, Because you can't do it. You can't do it for money. I say that all the time. There's a lot of easier ways to make a living then. So you have to do it because you love doing it,
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah.
So take us back with the relaxer, like the beginnings of the relaxer. What year was that?
The relaxer came in the early 60s.
Uh-huh.
And at first, well, you know, men had been wearing what they call the conch or whatever. It was lie.
Uh-huh.
And so the men were straightening their hair with that kind of thing. One of the people who comes to mind is Nat King Cole, who wore his hair straightened out and waved up and all that. That was done with that lie, you know.
Okay.
So that was the beginning of it. So then they decided, okay, now we can put the women into it. You know, you can experiment more with men's hair because usually they're not, you know, you can just shave them off. So when the relaxer first came in, well, first of all, they called it a permanent. It was interesting because it was a new experiment, like most things that are new. And I can remember the technicians at the trade show making a demonstration and the hair literally, you know, rinsing right on off the head.
Ooh.
In those first hair shows, when they first came out with the relaxer. They didn't call it relaxer then, like that. They called it the permanent. And that's why for many, many years, a lot of the older people, I'm there now, but you couldn't get them to get a relaxer because they had already lost their hair. So you couldn't get them. You couldn't talk them into it because they was like, no, my mother, my grandmother, somebody they knew had lost all their hair with that stuff. So they weren't fooling with it. You had to keep on pressing them or whatever, you know.
Okay.
But they have ironed it out. I mean, it's amazing to see how it got ironed out over time to the point now it's just, you know, it's a piece of cake. It's you know. But at first, you had to be very careful with it. And then they had the no lie and the lie, and there was a debate about that and all that and whatever, you know. Yeah, you can easily take any relaxer and cut it with, you know, cut it with something. So you can use your own judgment as you're relaxing hair if it needs to be cut with something, you know. So it's not as strong. And I'm finding with senior citizens, 99% of them, their hair has a tendency to be more like children's hair in terms of being fully developed or strong or whatever. And many seniors do not need a relaxer because of that. Their hair is not that strong. Mm-hmm. And so you need to leave that alone. Even if they wore relaxer in between their younger years, I find that they don't need it as they get older.
And so, like right now, we're seeing a lot of hair loss and people like in their really even 40s, maybe even younger, with a lot of hair loss. And some of them are like, oh, it's because of my age. So
No.
What what ages are you talking about?
When I'm talking about seniors, I'm talking about really past 65. Those are the young seniors, you know.
Okay.
People are losing hair for a lot of reasons, more like health reasons or diet. That's why I find that they lose hair. Lots of people have diabetes, and diabetes is real hard on hair. I mean, you know, sometimes it's almost the no return with hair. You know, you can work with it and whatever sometimes, but if they have serious bouts with diabetes and sugar and stuff, that has a giant effect. And then people don't eat. People in their 40s now, as you probably know, don't eat like they used to. They don't eat nutritious meals. I said, one thing that's been good about the pandemic, people have been home cooking real food. Yeah. You know. Yeah, one little boy said he was sick of this grocery store food. He wanted him some McDonald's. And that's what a whole 2 or 3 generations have grew up with McDonald's. Right. You know, the amount of nutrition in that stuff, it's been frozen. Might not have been too much to start with, and then, you know, by the time you cook it, you know, you're not really getting any nutrition. But a lot of people aren't really conscious about taking care of their hair when they're younger, so they kind of take it for granted it's going to always be there. They don't believe you can lose all of it, you know. So that's another reason I say for hair loss, they don't value it.
So contrast that with, like, you know, starting your career in the 60s, you know, as far as hair care and styles and trends and things that molded or kind of made where we are today possible.
Well, people were real, particularly African Americans, were real conscious about their appearance. And most people had a routine. They got their hair done religiously every 2 weeks. I mean, so that their appearance would be up to what they would up to par. You know, I studied Africana studies, got my degree in that, and they talked about how after slavery ended and all of that, how conscious we were about our appearance and how we looked, because that was supposed to have been making you more acceptable to the other races, you know. If you looked nice, if your hair looked nice, your clothes looked nice. So people, you know, like as you watch old movies, you see how dressed people were, you know. And now, you know, we have all kinds of styles, knees cut out, and all kind of stuff and it really doesn't matter where they're going. Flip flops, and you know. So as a consequence of that, they're not as conscientious about their hair and how it looks because, you know, the whole thing has, I call it collapsed, you know. You know how old people have all these ideas because they saw a different time, you know.
Yeah.
So now, and after, with this pandemic, which has really been an interesting phenomena affecting hair and everything else, the best thing that came out of it for the hairstylist is it gave us some respect. You know, people don't really give hairdressers that much respect. They say, well, stuff like, why don't you get a real job? All you do all day is play with hair, you know, all that kind of comments, you know.
Right.
But when you can't get to one for 3, 4, 5 months, and the biggest problem was the gray hair, because, you know, so many people, their hair is gray, but they get it done every 2 or 3 weeks, and they get it colored, and so nobody really knows about this gray hair.
Right.
But like I said, they've moved on along, and like I said, people aren't as conscious as they once were about how they look, but, you know, some people still are. You can get away with wearing whatever, anywhere, anytime, mostly. You know?
That's so true. So, like, you gave us a little idea as far as the 60s. What were some of the changes you saw in the 70s?
The biggest phenomena to me of the 70s was the jerry curl. In fact, I think that's the biggest phenomena of my whole career. Somebody got the idea of, like, his name was Larry Brooks. He was working for Jerry Redding. And he was working with permanent wave solution and all of that. And one day he got the idea, I wonder what this work on my hair, on African-American hair. And he did it, and it worked. So that was one of the most exciting things I think that happened. And, you know, Michael Jackson had jerry curl, as they called it, and so forth. And, you know, if any time a star is wearing something, that really boosted along, you know. But I think that was one of the big phenomena of the 70s. The late 60s throughout the 70s, really.
Yeah, I was around and able to know a little bit more what was going on with, you know, by that time. Tell us a little bit about, like, the process that it went through, because I think I remember you saying that at first you didn't, you know, like the breakdown solution that makes it straight, so then you ride it, that they didn't have it at first.
Oh, yeah. At first you had to ride the hair with it being in its natural state, which is very kinky in many instances. So you had to really put a little tension on that hair so that when you finish with it, it would be straight as you wanted. And then I'm not sure if Mr. Morrow, the California curl, he came out with the California curl, and I'm pretty sure he's the first one that had the breakdown. And so then you could break the hair down first before you ride it. So that made it really like Caucasian hair. So you could go ahead and ride it, you know.
Right.
Yeah, I went to Virginia Farrell Beauty School, so I learned, you know, it was a Caucasian school, and so we did nothing but permanent wave. So when that permanent wave came through, I mean, it was a piece of cake. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I know you were rolling during that time. It was like just person after person.
I was working. Yeah, I was working back then. What was interesting about it in terms of working, you had your regular clients, and then you had everybody else who wanted to get a jerry curl. And so you had to figure out how you're going to work all this in. And so that's why even today they have people who say, oh, it takes 3, 4, 5 hours to get the jerry curl. No, it don't. We had to work them in. So if they knew they was going to be there all day, you know, you could work them in. Yeah. So you do 2 or 3 other clients, and then meantime you check to see if they curl is processed. No, it ain't processed yet, because you haven't finished that other head yet. And so you got people that, oh, it's going to take it forever. No, it ain't. Yeah, plus you can boost it up with some heat under the dryer with a plastic bag and all that. So, you know. So you can do a curl now in 2.5 hours if you work straight through with it, you know.
Okay.
But like I said, that was the thing. I still run across people who say, oh, that lady could do a jerry curl. Your cousin Dorothy said, I thought I was Michael Jackson. And so I tell him, stop dating me, because he's 60 years old now. Okay. Stop dating me. Yeah, I'm telling all my secrets.
Right.
Yeah. I used to work in the morning from 6 in the morning until midnight. A whole lot of days, you know.
Yeah.
Used to do people's hair before they went to work so they could go to work looking cute, you know, and all sorts of stuff as that, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a long journey. It's been rewarding. I enjoyed it. It's one of the most interesting professions there is. We see people more than they see their relatives,
Right.
more than they see their doctor. You know, we become their confidant. It's a beautiful relationship, and I love the fact that you know people from all walks of life. You get to know people that work in all different places.
Right.
You get to hear the news before the TV does, you know. Because it was a bank robbery down the street, and your customer just stopped at the bank. She was in the bank when the robbery happened, and she's gonna tell you about it before it's on the 6 o'clock news. So
Right.
I used to enjoy all of that, all those perks I call it. If I needed something done downtown, had a good friend down there in the mayor's office. You call downtown and just go down and see how much my taxes are or whatever.
Right.
You don't have to go down there, you know. But all those days are gone by, you know. So, but I enjoyed it. So no regrets whatsoever. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I definitely remember you working the long hours. I don't even know what they were, but it's like I know you come home and kind of pass out, and we get you some dinner and all of that. And so, yeah, 6 a.m. to 12 midnight is a lot, to say the least.
Yes, it's a lot, especially when you do it consecutively,
Right.
like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And many times as a mother, when you get home at midnight, the children will have eaten all kinds of food and snacks till you get there. And then when you get there, they say they haven't had dinner.
Right.
So you have to cook some dinner.
Right.
Yes. What are we having for dinner? I don't know if you remember the time you guys ate up a roast. You cooked by that time. You could cook something. And y'all cooked and ate a roast. And then when I got home, I said, well, what happened to that roast? Oh, we ate that. But we didn't have no dinner yet. Yeah. So that's what mothers have to do. They have to work and maintain home and all the rest of that, you know.
Yeah. So
yeah.
Talk to us about that as far as, like, I know when Nishon was born that you got out of it for some years, the salon.
Well, it's kind of hard, especially when you get more than 2 children, it's really hard to balance. And if you miss those years, you know, the kids be grown and gone, so you don't want to miss that time, you know. It's difficult juggling work and raising children, you know, it really is. So at some different points you have to say, you know, I'm going to come home, I'm going to be at home, you know. Because I think I was working in the office and all that during those years, like between Nishon and then after Lisa came, it was 3 people. So there are 3 children. That's just too many to be trying to work.
Right.
It's a bit difficult, yeah.
Yeah. So any tips you have for managing your time with the business? I know time is always big for you, and you know, it's like I've heard you say, like in more recent years, that you don't have to work from, you know, 6 a.m. to midnight or what have you. So what would you say to a stylist right now who's trying to get their schedule together?
I would say for them to just have a set schedule and work that schedule instead of staying there all day and half the night. Because in the end, you're not going to benefit from that. It might seem like it, but really you're just wearing yourself out, you know. I have always managed time with working in the salon in terms of knowing what time you're going to get off. I tell people, stylists all the time, know what time you're going to get off when you go to work. You know how much work you can do in X amount of minutes, an X amount of hours, and do that many people and go home to your family. You know, that's what I would say. Don't, if Miss Jones and Miss whoever call in at the last minute or whatever, schedule her for another day and another time, you know.
Right.
Yeah. So you can't do so many people in a day. You really can't. I know I've probably done maybe up to 12 people or 14 people, but that's actually ridiculous. So like I say, you're wearing yourself out. 6 people in a day really it could be a decent day, especially with the prices these days, you know.
Right.
You could do 6 people and go home. Come in at about 10 in the morning. And about 5:30, 6 o'clock, go home, you know. And take out time for some lunch.
Yeah.
You know, that's one of the things that hairdressers do not do. Have a time when you have lunch. I know my doctor's office, they close between 12 and 1 every day. So the help can have lunch. You know, it's important, you know.
Right.
It gives you fuel for the rest of the day, you know. But that's one of the things that I try to advise younger people to do. Don't skip eating. Put that in your schedule. Also get your speed up so that you don't be all day doing one head, you know. I used to, when I was teaching, I would ask the students, how long can it take to go from this side of somebody's head around to the other side? Think about it. If you had to walk around there or run around the other side, I mean, how long can it take? I know you've seen people working on a head, how many hours?
Yeah.
You know.
Right.
Hours. What are you doing to them? You know, I used to say, we're not surgeons, so what are you doing? What could you possibly be doing to her? Yeah, I did train some hairdressers, I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I used to tell my new ones, you know, I was teaching at Redford High School in the cosmetology department. And so I was teaching adult ed at night. And so as they were graduating, I decided to open a salon with them. So that was interesting. Open a salon with 5 brand new stylists. Now, you talking about working. Now, that was really some work because I got to oversee all of this, you know. Teaching, of course, you know you got to oversee. But in the salon, you don't think you got to oversee every customer come in there, you know. But you do when you got all new people, you know, and they're not skilled yet. And I used to tell them that they were going to have to move out of this state. And they would look at me and they would say, why? I said, because you don't messed up everybody's head in this state. So you're going to have to, all these people in this state know you already, so you're going to have to move. They look all wide-eyed. Yeah, I used to have a training class every Monday, you know, with my new stylist. We had class every Monday, you know. That was back when blow dry, and I taught them how to blow dry, taught them how to do all that stuff. In school, you know, you getting them ready for the state board. And so they got the notice and that and the other, whatever, and how to put some nail polish on that little hand they use now and all that. But when you get in the salon, you get into the real stuff, you know. You got to get that lady happy so she can get out that chair and so you can put another one in there, you know. And if she ain't happy, she's not leaving. And she sure ain't paying. So you're going to be sitting around here looking kind of silly.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, they probably thought I was hard on them, but they turned out to be some beautiful people. They were with me 20-plus years, the same one that I had at school. Yeah.
Yeah. So what was the secret to keeping your team? Because so many people have trouble with hiring and with keeping stylists and feel like it's a revolving door, or they just train them and then they leave.
Well, one of the things is I used to try to even tell my stylists about studying psychology and studying people and knowing people. So when you're interviewing somebody, you can get a feel for whether or not they would be somebody that you would want to invest time in. And I used to tell them they had to sign a contract to stay 2 years, because if I invest time training you, you're going to stay at least 2 years. But only one person left after 2 years, and she opened her own salon. She was an older person at the time, and she opened her own salon. But you got to select good. I mean, you know, you can't just because somebody came by say, oh, yeah, and say they want to work. You know, you got to check their background. What kind of attendance did they have in high school and different stuff like that, you know, if they're young, you know. And you got to get into them a little bit before you just hire them. Now, I was blessed with the people that I had as students, because I had them in class, so I know who to pick out of the group.
Right.
And so I picked the 5 best ones, you know. But I've hired other people at different times. But to me, the whole secret is to getting to know people. I used to try to teach them, even with your clients, when a new client comes, in 5 minutes, you can kind of sum this client up. There's certain things about people that you will see immediately once you study and understand that, you know.
Can you give us an example?
For example, okay, I don't know if people listening know who Mrs. Wright is that coincidentally the last name, but her husband was Dr. Charles Wright here in Detroit, and he started and opened the Charles Wright African American Museum here in Detroit. And his wife came to me as a client. So I finally asked her, I said, are you married to Dr. Wright? He had passed on by then, you know. I could look at her, and so she's an attorney herself. And so, you know, we had a real nice client-patron relationship. And even that same day, the first day she came, she went to the car and brought me one of his programs, which, you know, was a great big book, the funeral program. Yeah. But there's just certain things about people that you can know. You can ask them questions like, what salon did you go to previous? I have a questionnaire that you fill out when you come the first time. I want to know about your health. Once in a while, you have somebody call you names if you ask them about their health, but that's only once in a blue moon. If they have diabetes, if they got high blood pressure, if they've been in the hospital in the last year, where they live, there's a bunch of stuff that'll tell you some stuff about the client on the first visit. Because most of the time, we're talking about hiring operators, but also keeping clients, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's just a bunch of, even like I say, hiring the operator. There's some situations they might be in that they can't work. It ain't even that they don't want to work. You know, if somebody tells you she's a single mother and she got 6 children and da-da-da-da-da, you know, every week one of them going to have a cold or something. So she's not going to be there. And it's not because she don't want to be there, you know.
Right.
But she can't be there. She's not going to be there. There's a whole bunch of stuff. Yeah. So it takes a little time, not just somebody stopping in.
Yeah, those are good tips. It's like I'm grateful for my front row seat to be able to pick up on so much. Let's see. There's so many things. Let's see. The getting their speed up. Are there any tips for that? Because you mentioned that earlier, and that is
you got to organize some people, their whole life is not organized, you know. They're just here, there, and there. Like I have this one client. If she's on her way to the salon and somebody calls her on the phone, well, like that's a big distraction. And so she's not going to get there on time. She don't have no organization to her life, you know.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm on my way to the salon and the phone rings, it's going to have to wait till I can conveniently call that person back. And then that's what they say is probably an emergency. And I tell people, you're probably only going to have 1 or 2 emergencies in your whole life. And even if you're there, there's not going to be nothing you can do about it.
Right.
It's the truth, you know.
Absolutely.
And so they don't have any organization to their life. And I don't know if you do from watching me through the years, but I have a list.
Mm-hmm.
I have a list for every day. I have a list for every week. What has to be done, what I'm going to do. And maybe the whole list wouldn't get done that week, but so you can transfer maybe 1 or 2 items over. The same with your day when you come in with your work. Okay, you got Miss So-and-so at such and such a time, and she's going to have a relaxer or whatever, and then such and such is going to happen after that. And then after that, you're going to lunch. And, you know, you should have some organization to your life. That's just how I see it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't get that, plus I was blessed to be trained at a school. We had to do 3 people an hour. It was mostly wet set work that you did like that.
Mm-hmm.
But you did 3 people an hour. You had 15 minutes to wash and set each one of them.
Mm.
And then you had 5 minutes to do the comb out. So the first one, you got her under the dryer in her 15 minutes. Second one, third one. By the time you get the third one under the dryer, the first one was coming out.
Okay.
And so you combed her out. It only takes 5 minutes to comb a comb out, you know.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when they used to have roller sets. But you have to have some kind of scheduling like that to organize your work. You can't just be nilly-willy walking around, drinking a Coke and whatever, and got your flip-flops on and like, girl, I don't know. You got to have a schedule. Just like if you were working on somebody else's job.
Right.
They're going to give you a schedule. They're going to tell you when to do what, you know. And you have to have that for yourself if you want to do any volume of work, or if you want to be there all day, if you want to get the lady out, whatever your motive might be.
Right.
You know, you can't do it just dragging around.
And it sounds like you need an enormous amount of focus to do 3 people in an hour.
Well, that's what you're there for. You know, you do need focus. Hey, that's what you're there for. You know, that's what you're there for. Well, you can't do 3 African-American heads, I say, in an hour. But you can definitely do 3, stuff like wet sets and stuff like that. You can definitely do 3 of those in an hour. Because I done did it many, many times, you know. That's how they trained us in beauty school. And so you keep that going with you. And I don't have people sitting around. I don't have people waiting. I said, you know, none of that kind of stuff, because it doesn't make sense. And I can't stand for people to waste my time, so I'm certainly not going to waste none of theirs. You know, if you see you're not going to get to them or you're running behind, call the client. She might have something else she could do with that time, with that hour, whatever, instead of having a whole bunch of people sitting around mad looking at you like, when she going to get to me and all that, you know. But in terms of getting your speed up, you probably have to just practice and keep practicing.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
know.
but I used to work with the people older than me, and most of them have passed on now. Lena Alexander, Dr. Mary Virginia Moore. Those ladies could wash and press and curl a head of hair in about less than 30 minutes.
Wow.
And Lena used we had a black congresswoman that used to have all kind of luncheons here when Lena was coming through there. And Lena would come in. Lena was up in age then, maybe 75 or so. She'd come in and do 2 or 3 heads in a few minutes,
Uh-huh.
changing her clothes and go downtown to the luncheon and come back, do 2 or 3 more heads. And, those people were trained how to work.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. They know how to knock it out, And I used to wonder, will I ever get as fast as they are? And believe it or not, I did get as fast as they are. Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you have any thoughts on the schools? I know you haven't been teaching in the schools in a while, but we've been talking about just curriculum and the training and lack thereof and what have you. Any thoughts as far as what schools can do to, help put that foundation in?
Most political things when in schools, beauty schools and stuff, the state government stuff and all, most political things are not going to change.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to stay the way they are. What I tried to do when I was teaching, when I went to Redford to teach, they were graduating. It was their last semester, and they had never worked on a human head. And they had been there 2 years because the public school program lasts 2 years.
Right. Okay.
And so they had never worked on a live person. When I got there, I said, well, what nights do y'all have clinic? And they were like, clinic? We don't have clinic. What? Y'all don't work on no human beings? And they were like, no, we just work on our mannequin. Can you imagine working on a mannequin for 2 years?
No.
So I said, okay. And it's funny how when you're younger, sometimes you don't know nothing about protocol. You just do what you do. So I said, well, you know what? I'm gonna make up some flyers, and we're gonna pass them out in the neighborhood, and you can get your hair done, the whole deal for $2.
Uh-huh.
Every night we had all these people in line waiting to get their hair done, and my people got a chance to work on humans. We had more smoke and whatever coming up out of that place. And I didn't realize I was supposed to get permission from the administrators. I didn't realize none of that. And so it ran the whole semester, but you need to get some more foundation in schools, but schools primarily concentrate on passing the state board.
Right, right.
And I've had a couple of apprentices I trained. I said, I could train you how to probably pass the state board in a week.
Mm-hmm.
I said, I'm going to teach you how to do hair. There's a whole nother world.
Right.
Yeah. And now you don't even have to take a live model to the state board.
Wow.
You don't have to do a real hand. You don't have to do no finger waving.
Right.
The foundation, the hairstyle, you don't have to know none of that.
Exactly.
So the best thing when you come out of school, because like I said, school is going to be what school is to go someplace and apprentice with somebody for a couple of years. Most people, when they come out of school, they think they licensed to do hair. I tell them, you're licensed to start learning how to do hair,
Right.
Because most people coming out of beauty school don't know how to do very much. They don't know too much. They know a few little things, whatever they say in the first 2 or 4 chapters in the book or whatever. But when you get that live lady in that chair, that's a whole nother story. Hey, and she want to look like Beyonce, and she about 85. So you got to know how to handle the situation. That's another thing, managing the people. But if you know how to manage people, study some of that. Go learn some of that. But I was blessed that I said in college I had Psych 101. I had it 3 times. I didn't know what they were talking about. So go learn some psychology and all the rest of that stuff. It will help you greatly. Like I said, the first problem, like I said, is getting past the lady.
Right.
Yeah, getting past the lady. So you got to learn what to do with her.
I had lots of problems with that. You were a big help.
What, the lady?
Yeah, my salon owner and Sally would give me some of the ladies he couldn't take, and they felt like he was sicking them on me, or they were sicking on me. It's like, he doesn't do it like that. What are you doing? Why is that? And I mean, it was just like, okay. It's like in a minute, like none of this is gonna be working the way I'm shaking. It's like you're not gonna have any curls or any.
That's like one of my operators. It was so funny because she was a good operator. She had some good skills, but she would sit there all day and not have anybody to do it. Of course, I gave her a customer every once in a while, and they would return to her, you know. And then one day I looked up and she had all these clients and all this stuff, and so I said, "Well, what happened?" She said, "I didn't know you had to talk to them."
Yeah.
So when she realized you had to talk to them, it all changed. Because I couldn't figure out what happened. I've been talking to this woman for however long, trying to get her to, you know, build up her clientele. And like I said, she wasn't the worst hairdresser, you know what I mean? She had work to get at the shop, but she didn't talk to them. Most of them, yeah, you become friends with 99% of them. And when I say friends, we just professional friends.
Yeah, so clarify that for us.
But the professional friends, yeah, I tell people, some people get real involved with their client in terms of having them be a friend. I just believe in keeping everything professional, and I have always done that. People are still saying that. I go to weddings and I go to funerals, maybe a birthday party. But we ain't hanging out together on the weekend. You know, we ain't doing all that social stuff that you do with your friends. And the people I hear that I've seen do that, you know, I try to say, you know, like, don't do that, you know. And then they start complaining that the person doesn't want to pay them. Like you hanging out with them on whatever, you know. Yeah, I have, like I said, I have never done that. It's just not professional. It's got to be strictly business. Like I said, I will attend the wedding. I will attend the funeral. And that's about it. Yes, you can find friends, some more friends somewhere else, you know.
Exactly.
Your clients don't have to be, you know. And that don't mean that you don't like them. And there's some of them you would like to hang out with.
Right.
But as long as they're your client, to me, I ain't hanging out with them, you know. Yeah. Yeah, I have several people that I would love to pal around with and go here and there with, you know, but I don't do that. Hey, we don't have our doctor. He don't go to lunch with us and all that, do we?
Nope.
Nope. You got some other friends somewhere else you go to lunch with.
I said mine never has anyway. So.
Mine either. And I done had them for 30 and 40 years. The same one.
Right.
They say, "Hi, Mrs. Wright, how are you? Da, 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 da. Let's see here what happened since the last time you was here." And that's, to me, how it should be. If it's a professional relationship, keep it professional, you know.
Right, right.
Yeah. Then you'll have this client way longer.
Yeah.
Way longer.
So you told us about your teaching. What about the salon ownership? Like what made you want to open a salon in the first place? And what was that process like for you, like opening and expanding and all of that? I remember the right place and Black Hair World, and talk to us with all that going on for you.
You know, I guess with salon ownership, you know, any conference or anything you go to, they all tell you should own a salon. Oh, you should look forward to having a salon. You know, that's a message that's taught. I almost call it a misnomer. But anyway, I was working in a salon. I was working in Dr. Mary Moore's salon. And I just decided, what happened too was Alma's Beauty College. Alma had a little salon up there. That was the right place. I named it the right place, up on 7 Mile. And it was just a small salon. It was really like big enough for 2 people, you know. And so I decided to give it a whirl. So I did open a salon. And it was an interesting experience. The first thing that happened, for first winter, all the pipes were on the back wall, back there where the shampoo room was. And I come to work one morning getting ready to do my customer, and all the pipes in the salon are froze. There's no water. So that was one of the first dilemmas. So I'm saying, okay, what do I do? And so you got to be also able to not let stuff defeat you. Okay. So it was a hardware store down the street. So I left the client at the shop and I walked down there. And I asked him if he knew any way I could unthaw my pipes. He sold me this little electric thing that you wrap around the pipes. You keep it plugged in year-round. and you will never have another frozen pipe.
Mm-hmm.
So you learn stuff, you know.
Right, right.
Yeah, you learn stuff. That was probably one of the big dilemmas. A bunch of those stuff happens, you know, but I will never forget that because, you know, a client came to get her hair done. She probably, you know how they let their hair go the night before because they go into the beauty shop in the morning. Yeah.
Exactly.
And then you get there and there's no water and you're like, oh, God, no water. It's cold. Well, I ain't got nothing to heat up, nothing to put the hot water on the pipes, but nothing, you know.
Right.
So a bunch of different stuff happens. Black Hair World was a bigger, much bigger venture. I got the one salon open with my people that I said from the school.
Mm-hmm.
So we got that salon open. I decided to open a second salon and a second Black Hair World. And then I got real involved and decided to open a third Black Hair World.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's a little bit much, unless you've got a team of people. Okay, so you're over at this salon, and there's a dilemma over at the other salon, and you over here working behind the chair and curling somebody's hair, and you got to drop what you're doing and go over there and see about the dilemma over there. There's all kind of dilemmas that come up. One time, the second salon was a storefront in front of where some people lived who didn't want any black people in the front. And so some gentleman, a black gentleman, came to pick his wife up, and they called the police. And the police over there the folks over there with guns and all this kind of stuff. So I had to stop and go over there to see what was going on and get that solved. But the lady in the back said she wasn't living there, no black people. So anyway, so that happens, you know, whatever. So then I opened a third salon. I bought a building and opened that, and then it was some other people on the other. It was two stores. It was two stores together on the whole thing. They didn't want us on the other side of them in the other store.
Mm-hmm.
So when they ended up buying me out of that, they gave me more money than I paid for, way more money, because they wanted us gone. It was just, I guess, something to do as far as being young and adventurous. How's that? Yeah, being young and adventurous.
So any
The
tips?
best spot, whether people know it or not, is behind the chair. Period. That's the best spot. You don't have to see about nothing. You don't have to do nothing but pay your rent and move on, you know.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And tell the boss that the door won't open and the toilet won't flush and all the sink is stopped up. I used to leave on Saturday. So I wonder what'll be broke next week. Because you can believe that something's going to be broke next week.
Right.
Every week. So whatever money you done collected, you got to spend half of that getting stuff fixed.
Mm-hmm.
Were you with me when my manager called me, and I think I was in D.C.
Yep.
early in the morning on a Monday morning to tell me that the door wouldn't close at the salon in Detroit. Now, I'm in D.C. What can I do about this door? I told her to prop a chair up behind it. She figured out something to do. But if you're on a salon, you never get off. That's the thing about a salon. So if you got a lot of free time and you ain't got nothing to do and you don't ever want to get off, you open a salon. But contrary to what they tell you out there in the world, the best spot is behind that chair.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you ain't responsible for nothing, because it's not fun being responsible. But I'm concerned, you know.
Right, right.
Yeah, when we had that French roll, you know, when the French roll was hot,
Mm-hmm.
the people got, you know how they got to go in the bathroom and see how they look when they get finished.
Right.
They took more hairpins. More hairpins fell down the drain. So I took the mirror out the bathroom. Then they go in there, ain't no mirror in there. I said, nope. Sure ain't. I mean, who would think you got to be policing hairpins and all kind of crap that somebody done put in something, you know? Yeah, so it's just a bunch of stuff, and the excitement is to see what's going to be towed up next week.
Right.
So, like, something's going to be towed up or something. You know? Mm-hmm. You get to know a lot of vendors. You get to know electricians, plumbers. You have to have a whole rapport of service people to take care of all these needs. I never forget the hot water heater went out. Probably the last year I had a salon, went out in January. Now, in January traditionally is your slowest income month. So So at the beginning of January, you got to buy this daggone water heater.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, it ain't no household water heater. It's a commercial water heater.
Right.
So you have to call your plumber and say, "Hey, John, I need a hot water heater," and he'll bring it right over.
Right.
So there goes the money. There goes the money for the month that you ain't even made yet.
Right.
Yeah, it's a whole lot of fun. Now, I'm not discouraging any of these young people from opening a salon, but if I had my druthers, I'd be behind that chair.
Right.
And at the end of the night, bye. See y'all tomorrow. And plus, you got to keep that thing clean. That's the line.
Oh, yeah.
You got to keep it clean. Oh, goodness. Yeah, I had that same spot for over 20-some years, and you just get sick of looking at it.
Okay.
If you're not cleaning it yourself, you got to supervise whoever is cleaning it.
Right.
Because they're not going to clean it like you clean it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, so it's very interesting having a salon.
Yep, definitely. Well, those I think are some good tips for folks to chew on.
Well, like I said, might be something they want to do.
Yeah. Yep.
I don't want to miss out on an opportunity. Huh?
I said every day, every year, there's folks that want to do it, and
that's right. That's what keeps the world going.
But go in with your eyes open. Yeah. Not in
know that this is not no picnic.
Not a straight sale. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun and exciting and whatever,
Mm-hmm.
Whatever, Yeah, but it's all right. I enjoy we used to give fashion shows.
Right.
One year I took my crew from Detroit to Chicago to what show was that one? It was one of the black shows. Can't call the name of it.
Oh, the Proud Lady.
We went by. Yeah, the Proud Lady show. Yeah, that was really a lot of fun. Had a stretch limo big enough for all of us to fit in.
Mm-hmm.
And the limo took us all the way to Chicago. And the limo people stayed in the same hotel, so whenever we wanted our car, we could call their room, and they would pull up out front. I didn't know that you get so much attention if you're in a limousine.
Oh, okay.
One of the nights we had them come and get us and take us to a restaurant. Everybody in the restaurant got up and was looking out the window wondering who was arriving.
Okay. You were balling.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. They thought Michael Jackson or somebody was coming.
Right.
That's what they said when we went in. Yeah. And then I had the limo driver take me the last day we were there to take me shopping.
Mm-hmm.
And so people out on the street was wondering who was in the limo, and he came around and let me out. And it was right around the corner where Oprah's studio was.
Oh.
So I told him I was Oprah's sister. He's like, ooh. Oh, yeah, we had a lot of good times. I used to take them to Ann Arbor or somewhere like that in the limo for lunch for my birthday. We used to celebrate my birthday.
Uh-huh.
The whole crew, So anyway, that one year, the last year we went to Ann Arbor, I said, we need to go further than this with this limo. So that's how I got the idea. I said, next year we going to the hair show in the limo.
Okay.
So that was nice. We went, like I said, we stayed at the hotel, and I made sandwiches, tea sandwiches, and all kind of stuff. We had food in the limo to eat, stuff to drink, and all that. Yeah, so we have some good memories. I said one day I guess we should all get together.
Right.
The old gang, I ain't seen most of them in a long time,
Yeah.
But we enjoyed it while it lasted. So those were some of the bright moments with the salon.
You guys all came to New York for the New York show, IBS.
Oh, yeah.
You guys up there. Yep.
So we did some fun stuff.
Yeah.
It wasn't all work. Yeah.
Well, the hair shows, it's like that's actually how I got introduced to the industry, because I never thought about really going into the industry or anything, but I'd go with you to Chicago to the Midwest show. It was
the Midwest show. That was always my favorite show, the Midwest Beauty Show.
Yeah.
I always liked it better than I did the New York show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, you were going since you were, about 12?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I started taking you so you could see how exciting it was, and it was to me,
Yeah, super exciting, and it's like I was fascinated with how you could take this hair that was just hanging long, and then you cut it, and it have all this volume to it, and it was like, whoa, like what? How did that happen? Like the wedges, I think were in then, and just have all this volume and movement, and it's just like, how did that happen? Yeah, so it was fascinating.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting.
Yeah.
I wish more people knew how exciting it is. Most people just see the salon as their little neighborhood salon, and that's it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
They don't see it as a worldwide kind of thing. Remember when we went to the World Show in Las Vegas?
Yep. Yeah, I was in cosmetology school then. My mind was completely blown.
But most people don't get to see all of that, you know. So
Yeah.
yeah, the lay people certainly don't get to see it, you know.
Right.
What they say, why don't you go get a real job? I love when people say that. You ain't doing nothing but playing with hair all of it. Yeah, yeah, show you right. Yeah.
I think those are super important, I think, for stylists to go to, to see, more than what they see on a day-to-day basis. And even through the magazines and social media, there's nothing like being there live. One day we'll be again.
Yeah, I met a hairstylist not too long ago that told me he had never been to a hair show. He's been a stylist at least 30 years. He said he ain't never been in there.
Wow.
How do you be in this business this long and you ain't never been? For one thing, you got to see what's new, what new products are out. You got to see what new techniques are out.
Right.
All of that kind of stuff, you know.
Yep.
There's a bunch of stuff that comes out, you know, that if you miss 5 years, you've been missed a whole bunch of stuff, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for some people, that's what happens to their clientele. It's like they
go right on. They wander on, huh?
Yeah. Yep. To somebody that's up on what's going on.
Yeah, you got to keep up what's going on if you're going to work, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you got to, because like I said, it'll pass you right on by.
Right. So education's been huge for, for me being around you. So
yeah, education is definitely important, you know.
Yeah. What were I don't know, highlights or things that pushed you to continue to want to get more education, or things that stand out for you as far as things that you would only have learned if you had sought the education for it?
Well, you know, I'm a person who loves school and loves studying stuff and loves learning some more stuff. I don't know where I got that from, but anyway. Well, like I said, the hair shows were extremely motivating. I never forget when Optimum Relaxer came out and little James Harris with his little young cute self with his tail. Remember when the tail was in?
Right.
Yeah. He was about as cute as you could get. And those kind of shows. What's the name? Alice Benson was at that show. They came to Detroit when the Rinsin was brand new.
Oh, okay.
So all of that was exciting in Detroit anyway. And then here he was with that's in the late 70s. He was with Optimum. And what's the guy's name that used to always work for Talk Sheen with the big voice? I can't call his name.
Reginald Mitchell?
Yes.
Yeah, Reggie Mitchell.
Yeah, all of those people, you know, so those people, you know, they get you motivated and you just keep on going. You say, ooh, when is the next show and what's the next thing happening, you know? Like I said, it's very exciting, you know, so.
Yeah.
And plus, like I said, you want to know as much as you can know that when they had the Larry Brooks who introduced the Jerry curl, you know, he was on the West Coast. He was in California.
Okay.
And so that particular Sunday was the only time he was coming to the East Coast. He was in Indianapolis, Indiana, for that one day. And so I flew to Indiana. And did I get a hotel room? I don't think I got a hotel room.
Okay.
So when you get up early and then you fly to another city and then you go to a class all day, you know, you're pretty tired by the end of the day.
Right.
And then you got to fly back to Detroit the same night. And that was back when you could still come into the airport to pick up your passenger, you know.
Okay.
When I got off the plane, all I could do was sit. And your dad came into the airport and got me, you know.
Okay.
But I couldn't go another step. Because that's a whole lot of moving around in one day, you know.
Right.
But I was determined that I was going to see how to do that Jerry curl. I wanted to see the basics of it and whatever, you know. But that's the person who was working for Jerry Reddy. You know, they had all these tales about how it started.
Right.
Yeah, but that's the beginning of that. But he was working back there in the back room, and you know how you be curious.
Right.
And he decided to put that file on that curly hair, on that kinky hair. Oh, he didn't have no real bad grade of hair anyway, but he put that stuff on there, and I guess he rided it up. And it worked. He was like, woo! And the whole world went mad, you know. Right. So anyway. But like I said, you want to know what's going on in the industry. You don't want to be half doing it. Yeah, so you want to know know what's happening and what's going on. You know, of course, he went to some more classes after that, but he was the beginning of it. And like I said, he wasn't going to be on this coast. He said no time soon, you know.
Right.
So if you didn't get to Indianapolis, you didn't get to see it.
Yeah, I was just thinking how, you know, everything goes around in circles, and now, you know, natural hair is really big, and I don't even know why it popped up, but on my YouTube it popped up about using Jerry curl juice is what they're calling it, the activator, curl activator on the natural hair to give it moisture and to define the curls. And I was like, oh, that's cute. Okay.
Yeah, Nishon just told me recently, what she called it, my hairstyle. She said, Mama, your hairstyle is back. You know. But like, hey, she know I know how to ride
a curl.
And if they got 1/8 of an inch, you can get it on a ride. You can get it on one of them little red rides. That's another thing with students. Miss Wright, I can't curl this piece. If it comes out of the scalp, you can curl it.
Okay.
If there's any pain peeping through, you can get it curled. You can sure get a little piece of hair on a red rod. If you can't get it on a red rod, you know, I don't know what to tell you. You can get an end paper around it and envelop it with a end paper and roll paper till you get to the hair.
Okay.
Yeah, and this curl I had rolled one day. This gentleman, he only had about an inch all over or whatever. And she came in my room and she said, Dad, how you get all that good stuff on stuff? Just roll up neatly.
Yeah.
I think it was interesting when I was in Jerry curl, it was only a few of us African Americans, as they call us now, and they would be mad because they had to ride curls because they said they were never going to be doing that.
Oh, okay.
Well, don't you know? I was in school in 1964. I guess it was probably 10 years later when the Jerry curl came in.
Right.
Yeah. Now what you gonna say?
You never know.
You don't know what you're gonna be doing. You know.
Exactly.
I don't know how come we got to do this because we won't be doing none of this. No. So I said I was glad I know how to ride a curl.
The same with finger waves. It's like,
yeah, you got to know how to do finger waves. I don't know how they took it out the thing. Because if you don't understand finger waves, you don't understand hairstyling.
Right.
Yeah, because all the stylings, people don't realize it's just a looser or a tighter version of a movement. Right. You know? That's all they are. All of it, you know?
Right.
Yeah. If you're wearing it hanging straight, it just means that that's the last version. It won't move. It ain't bent at all. Yeah. But the whole thing is just one big, beautiful S.
Right.
And you can have it tight or you can have it loose. If you look at the old movies from the 50s and 60s, it's tight. Right. You look at it long enough and you'll see them same looks that they wore all later, you know. 50s, 70s, 80s, 90s, you know. Right. Same thing, just looser. That's all. Or tighter, depending on which way you're looking. Yeah, but so when they take that out, they're taking a lot out. You know, when I say they still trying to get rid of the license, they really working on it.
Oh, yeah, after COVID and the whole sanitation and.
They ain't said nothing since then, but just before then, the legislature in Lansing, they had a bill on the table for it.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Who knows? They definitely needed to keep all that sanitation and stuff in there.
Right. Yeah, I think it's
but I guess,
obvious right now. I think it's super obvious right now that they need the sanitation.
Again, the powers that be don't think we do anything.
Right.
They never have. You know, like, why do you need a license for this? And our governor said while everybody was off for the 4 or 5 months, you don't need your hair done no way. She said, go online and look up how to cut your hair. You cut your own hair. She said it in one of her news conferences.
Okay.
So I laugh with some of our clients with the curly hair, I call it, you know. I'm like, girl, she told you could go on there and do your own hair.
Seen enough of that lately.
Oh, don't even talk about it. Don't even talk about it. I told Nishon, this one lady today looked like her hair had a fight with itself. I'm sick of you. I'm beating you up behind. How did you come out of the house looking like that? You know, that's what you want to ask. These are prominent people, you know. Just get up out the bed and let it do what it do. Now, all they got to do is get a new name for the Jerry curl, and they can bring it back real easy, but I ain't heard of no name for it.
Oh, okay.
When people hear Jerry curl, then they think of that old thing with some juice running down.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well,
The only reason that happened too was because they didn't know what to do with the thing. But they knew if they left a lot of moisture in it,
right.
that it wouldn't break.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's how that came about. And as time went on, of course, they got stuff that wasn't so oily and greasy and runny and whatever.
Right.
But that's all we to do at that time, because they was like, oh, shoot, we can't let it dry out. But you know what happens to it when it dries out. So that's why they had all that crap going on with the plastic bag on the head and all the rest of that. But ain't none of that necessary. And especially with all the different stuff they got now you can put on the hair.
Uh-huh.
But they need a new name for it.
Right, right.
And it'll be a sensation.
Yep. Well, it may be coming
because
back.
The younger generation ain't seen it, huh?
Right. Yeah, I was going to say, since the products are making a comeback, it's like probably there will be a new resurgence of some sort.
Oh, it's going to be a new resurgence because these younger people ain't never know nothing about it. They kind of heard about it.
Right, right.
So if you give it a new name, then they'll be like, oh, they got the so-and-so.
Right.
and then they can tell their parents that it ain't nothing like what they had.
Uh-huh.
Every generation does that when the grandmothers say, yo, that's like what we had. Oh, grandma, y'all didn't have it. Hey, you want to say you want a bet? Each generation think they invented something.
Right.
And, I've been around here a long time, and I ain't seen too many new things that go around and come back around.
Right, right.
They go around and come back around. After a while, it ain't nothing else to do.
Yep. It all circles back around.
Yep.
So I wanted to ask you, it's like you've got 2 daughters in the industry, and what are your thoughts with, like our careers and is it something that you saw when we were kids or something that surprised you?
Well, Nisha didn't surprise me as much. Nisha used to always take all my teaching paraphernalia and have it up under her bed.
Oh.
So, did you know about that?
I didn't know about that part, no.
Especially when I was teaching.
Okay.
And you know how you're getting ready to go to work and you're in a hurry.
Uh-huh.
And you reach over there to get your stuff where you left it at, but it's not there. Because she got it under her bed because she's been reading and studying it.
Oh, okay.
So I'm pretty sure when she went to beauty school, she already knew that book.
Okay.
That textbook, she already knew that, So that didn't surprise me so much. I was probably more surprised that you chose it as a profession. I was happy that you did, especially since I took you to all the hair shows.
Right.
I don't think I ever took Nisha to a hair show, But you certainly made a fabulous career out of it, and I just love that video with what's his name that sings that.
Oh,
the video you made of your career.
My career. Huh? Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah. I'm very proud of all of you with into the profession, keeping it going,
Yeah.
Every generation got to keep it going,
Yep. Well, it was a surprise to me too. So.
You said it was a surprise to you too.
Yep.
Yeah, I was surprised. One day you called me and told me, guess what? You were in college and all that in Houston, and you said, oh, I'm going to beauty school. So I'm like, oh, really? Oh, okay.
Well, actually,
congratulations.
A little different because I had some friends, like you said, like the way I did my hair, and asked me to, if I would be able to do like a, relax their daughters and, trim them up or whatever. So I was like, I guess I could. And, it's like I never thought about it, but she liked my hair. So I was like, okay, went over and did their hair. And her husband was the kind of person that never liked anything. So he was like, oh, my God, that's a precision cut. You should just quit your job and hang out your shingle and go do hair. I was like, what?
He said it was a surprise to you too, huh?
Yeah, so I called you, and you were like, first thing, don't quit your job. So, so you won't have to come back home.
Of course, they don't quit the day job.
Yeah, you suggested I go to cosmetology school and see how I liked it. And like I tell folks, it's like I fell into it and then fell in love with it. So, but
yeah, I was really so interested, and I said all these years I spent standing up, and I should have been sitting on a stool.
Oh, okay.
In the later years, I found out how wonderful it is sitting on a stool. But my teachers that I had, because when you start out sitting at a table with the mannequin sitting down, and that teacher every day, she said, you dress hair with your feet.
Okay.
Stand up. So All in years I hear her saying, you dress hair with your feet, stand up. So I tell young stylists, if you have an opportunity, sit down. So
Okay.
you won't be wearing out your legs and your back, you know. At least sit down half the time if you don't sit down all the time.
Right. Okay.
Because I did stand on my feet all those many years, more than 50 years. You know?
Wow.
Yeah, wow. Which I'm telling ages, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we all just happy to still be here, and I'm happy to be here to see all y'all have made it to adulthood and all the rest of that, and very successful, and very proud of all of you.
Yeah, well, we're very grateful for the example that you set for us, and
oh, how sweet.
Definitely continue to be my inspiration. And, it's like as you, kind of transition into other things, you're doing your art now. You went back to school and finished your degree. And so all of those things are like, wow, like never.
Well, that was something I started. I started my degree in Wayne State in 1960 and graduated finally 50 years later in 2011.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. I had a whole lot of, as they say, life goes on in between.
Right.
Yeah. After your father passed, and hey, I was in a whole different ball game,
Right. Right.
Yeah. With 3 minor children by myself, I'm like, oh Lord,
Yep.
I didn't go back to school for 26 years. Because, before I always went off and on.
Yep. Well, we were growing.
So when I went back down there, it had been 26 years.
Wow.
And they had changed so much stuff, they was like, well, it's not like it was. I said, well, tell me what I got to do, And I tell young people, don't let nobody discourage you or tell you too old for something and all of that. I've been back out of school 10 years.
Right.
Oh, when I was going back to school, what did the one lady ask me? Oh, you must want them to write that on your tombstone. I said, girl, please. And it was the best thing I ever did because it got me up to date with the computer. And I learned all kind of stuff that I would not know about. Yeah, so it brought me up to speed. Because the whole thing with computers and stuff, there are many people who aren't involved with them, but if you're not involved with a computer these days, you're kind of missing out on life, I always say, if somebody stole everything out of this house, as long as they leave my computer, I'm good.
Okay.
Because you just can't do nothing without it,
Right. Yep. So the world is moving more and more in that direction.
Ain't it though? So that was one of the best things I ever did in my life, was to get on back down there. And it wasn't easy, believe me. Plus, you get all these biases from instructors, and I had some good instructors, but then I also had some who, like, why are you down here? Yeah. They talking about racism. What about ageism? Oh, they got a thing. The whole country got a thing on ageism. Yeah, they, after you a certain age, they decide you should have been gone already. They want to put you out to pasture, so if you don't fight your way back up. So anyway, but like I said, I was glad I went back. Like I said, I know how to do Photoshop and my photography and all kind of stuff in my art. So if I hadn't gone back to school, I wouldn't know none of that stuff. I'd be still trying to do the answer machine, the telephone answer machine. I laugh with your little sister because when she see me doing some of this serious computer stuff, she said, I said, you didn't believe I'd ever learn all this, did you? And she said, no, because we couldn't even teach you how to use a telephone answer machine. I wasn't interested. So she just looks at me and shakes her head like, okay.
So tell us a little bit about your art and how you kind of transpired into that, because I have heard you say through the years, it's like, oh, I'm not good at, things, drawing and art and those kind of things, but you are. Now you're like.
Well, ironically, I told you I started college in 1960. I have always wanted to be in the College of Fine Art at Wayne State. I used to go over there and just visit. I wasn't enrolled in there. I was in liberal arts. And I would wish that I could be there or whatever. I remember different exhibits I saw during the years. One time somebody did an exhibit showing the ironing board through the years, all the different styles of ironing board, something you wouldn't even think about, And I would just go over and visit the place. But back then, see, as African Americans, the only thing people wanted you to do was to be a school teacher. You know, that was the career. And so I didn't want to particularly be especially no elementary school teacher. That wasn't never my thing. So anyway, when I've always been interested in photography. And one of the first classes I took at Wayne was photography because I was a journalism major to start with. So I've always been interested. That's why you got 3,000 or 4,000 pictures, printed pictures. Remember all them pictures you got? Yeah, because I've always been interested in photography. In fact, I asked my parents for a camera when I graduated from high school. I got a Brownie Hawkeye camera. But anyway, so as time went on and I got back down to school, I was still, in the back of my mind thinking about all this stuff, And so, of course, everything has changed. Now we got digital cameras.
Right.
And so after I got the degree all finished, I started taking post-degree stuff in the art department and the photography and all that stuff. So that's how it kind of evolved. I did not turn no digital camera on. I bought one. And there's a young lady I met down. She's a young girl. And her father was a professional photographer. So she knew a whole bunch of stuff. So she'd be trying to help me. And she was real blunt. I mean, I like people that are blunt because then they tell you the real deal,
Yeah.
So if you don't know how to do something, she tell you straight out. She wasn't trying to say, So she was a real helpful. She lives up in Lansing, and she finally got her dream job. I think she's some kind of journalist up there.
Oh.
But anyway, so people helped along the way and taught me different stuff. And then I decided I wanted to take Photoshop. That's the hardest thing I've ever had to learn in my whole life because I'm not what I call a technical person, but I was determined I was going to learn it. And then I let the teacher talk me into taking Photoshop 1 and Photoshop 2 at the same time.
Oh.
Now, I don't know nothing about none of it, but she said they need one more student in the Photoshop 2 class, and we know you can do it. And if you don't sign up, then they'll have to cancel the whole class. I mean, she put a guilt trip on me. Ain't got nothing to do with me, So I let them talk me into this crap. And then I'm like, okay, now if I flunk out of all this stuff, there go my GPA. I'm trying to have a 4.8 or 4.0 or 3.5, grade point average. So I said, I got to learn this stuff. Plus, I wanted to know how to do it. So I did some research, thank God, for the computer. And found out that the Photoshop people have a convention every year, because, I love learning stuff. They have a convention every year, and they teach Photoshop 1 at the convention. And when I came up to D.C., and when you was up there, so that's what that was about. So I took Photoshop 1 from the source. What they say, go to the source.
Right.
And then I understood it better, because the teachers that was teaching me, one of them said he didn't know nothing about it. And he said, go on lynda.com and take a course that they give you for $26 a month. Now I'm giving you about how many thousand for this class? He said, I don't know nothing about Photoshop. His wife was on the staff down there, and she got him a job because he was a photographer, but he don't know Photoshop. And then the other teacher I had for Photoshop 1, he was busy showing off how much he know how to do. That's not a teacher,
Right.
Oh, look what else I can do. Well, I'm the type of person, I like to start with A and then go to B and then to C.
Right.
He way down there at Z. What? So anyway, I went and learned the basis to it, and then I built on it after that,
Yeah.
But you talking about something, as I used to tell Nisha, wrap your brain around.
Right.
That was something I had to wrap my brain around. But I'm so happy I know how to do it, and I can do it and use it, and I just have a ball here with this computer with it, But it wasn't easy to learn.
But you persevered.
I definitely persevered on that. Because like I said, it's a class where you kind of want to say, you say what now? I used to teach something, and this girl in the class would say, hold up. And that's what I want to say, but you're in the room with all these other people, and you're the only one that don't know nothing. So you sit there and try to look intelligent.
Right.
Yeah, and I done been to the Photoshop convention many times, and then once you learn your photography and your art and all that stuff, then you got to learn how to frame the stuff.
Okay.
Because it costs a fortune to have something framed. And so that took me to the framing conventions.
Okay.
Yeah, so one thing just leads to another. Especially with these computers, you can get all the information you need about whatever, you know.
Right.
And I was like, oh, they must have a framing convention. So I found the framing convention, the national one.
Uh-huh.
And they meet every year in January in Las Vegas. So, you
Okay.
know, yeah, so that's kind of how all of that evolved.
Yeah.
One day led to another day and whatever, you know.
Your art is fabulous.
Well, well, you know, artists don't ever like their stuff, you know. They don't ever appreciate it, you know. They really don't, you know.
Uh-huh.
We don't ever think it's okay, you know. But I do like, I don't mind selling art, but I don't care if I sell any or not, but I do sell some. But I really love giving it to people.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that's one of the real joys with it, you know. It's giving somebody an artwork.
Right.
And then later on, you go to their house and they got it hanging up on the wall.
Uh-huh.
To me, that is, oh, let me show you where I put the picture, you know. And to me, that's worth $1 million. So, you know.
Mm-hmm. Does it hit you
And then I
differently when
donate.
you see it hanging up in their environment?
Oh yes. It's like, you know, it's like home, you know. It's like, you know,
Uh-huh.
found its spot, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well,
So I enjoy it, and like the people didn't have nothing to do during the pandemic.
mm-hmm.
I had too much to do.
I know.
You know, my dream is to have this art exhibit. Well, now we got all this pandemic stuff going on.
Right.
So I don't know how many years the pandemic will last, but whenever I come out,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna have to get a couple of trucks to haul all the stuff to the
Okay.
exhibit. What they say, Van Gogh painted 800 pictures in his lifetime, and he only sold one.
Oh, wow.
And you know, after artists' work is valuable once they pass away. It's not
Okay.
so valuable once they're still alive. It ain't that valuable.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, you had to pay millions of dollars to get a real Van Gogh or something, you know. But they said he painted 800 pictures. He left 800 pictures back here.
Wow.
Well, once you start doing that stuff, you know, it just accumulates, you know.
Right.
Yeah, it accumulates. But like I said, I enjoy it. It's relaxing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a nice thing for the retirement years.
Yeah, well, you have
Yeah.
definitely lived a life filled with beauty, from the hair to the art. As we get ready to kind of close out, tell us a little as far as like who inspires you or who has inspired you through the years.
Who has inspired me through the years? Let me think. There have been many, many people.
Uh-huh.
There's a teacher that I had. I guess maybe I was in ninth grade or 10th grade. I recently had something on Facebook about him.
Uh-huh.
His name is Mr. Larry Cuban, and I guess he's still on the faculty at Stanford University in California. At one time, he was just like the job that Betty DeVos has,
Uh-huh.
the head of the education for the United States. At one time, he had that job.
Okay.
But I had him as a teacher when he was working grad school in Cleveland.
Mm-hmm.
And he's the first person that taught me about African American history, about Black history. Because I didn't know we had any history. I never heard none of this stuff before.
Mm-hmm.
And he's a Caucasian man. He's about 6 feet 4 or 5. And he would literally be up on top of his desk saying, "You all have to learn this. Because it's y'all's history." Talking about Kwame Nkrumah and Frederick Douglass and those people. I never heard of none of these people. Yeah. Harriet Tubman and all that, you know. So he's somebody that I remember and that inspired me. And then there was a teacher, Mrs. Nellie Rosebaum. The school I went to in Cleveland, when you finish junior high, they have a counselor come over and meet with you and talk to you about what you're going to take in high school. And so she saw my record and she said, "Oh, you're going to college." I'm like, "Oh, I wonder what that is." I don't know nothing about no college. Anybody at my house talking about college, I don't know nothing about that. My daddy wanted me to be a secretary, and you know I'm a great typist. I was never interested in that. So Mrs. Rosebaum put me on the road to going to college and to the university and all of that. So she's somebody that inspired me through the years. Who else inspired me? My parents, of course, particularly my father, because he was a great believer in getting an education because he didn't get one. And he didn't get one because he didn't have the opportunity. He didn't get one because he was too silly to get one. And he realized that his whole life, you know. So education was so important to him. So, you know, that really made me always want to get as educated as I could get. And My husband inspired me because he was always in my corner no matter, So he was a great inspiration. And my children have inspired me. They was one of my, I call accomplishments, getting them all grown and whatever, There's been a lot of people along the way. Like people say, all of us are standing on a lot of people's shoulders.
Yeah.
Dr. Mary Virginia Morey in the beauty industry inspired me. Mary was someone who, somebody told her one day that she couldn't go to college because she wasn't nothing but a hairdresser. Mary went on down to Wayne State and went all the way through the PhD.
Okay.
And then when Coleman Young was running for mayor in the city, the Rinsen was a big deal. It was just built. It was just open. And he was running for mayor. I think it might have been the first time. And so Mary told him how many tickets she could sell and how many people she knew, and she could fill up the ballroom at the Rinsen. He told her she ain't know nobody to fill up nothing because she ain't nothing but a hairdresser. Now, she filled the place up, don't you? And Mary was the kind of person, she'd walk up to you and say, give me that money you owe me. And I said, I don't owe you no money. She said, yes, you do. You owe for this ticket you fixing to buy. Mary could sell thousands of tickets. Because you be standing there looking dumbfounded, you be done gave her the money for the ticket. Yeah, so she was a great, great inspiration. Yeah, and of course, all those wonderful customers that I have serviced through the years. There's been so many different people, And of course, many of them have passed on, but many of them I still remember vividly,
Right.
And how much fun we used to have and all the rest of that, Yeah. Again, we had our fun at the shop. I can count how many people's houses I never been to, you know what I mean? Yeah, but we were the best of friends. I said we're like Nishon and her clients. Every one of Nishon's clients, they tell me that she's their best friend.
Right.
And that's lovely. Yeah. Oh, I'm Nishon's best friend. I said, oh, yeah, Yeah. Because that's another relationship besides,
Definitely.
partying on the weekend. Yeah. So.
Right.
Yeah, well, this has been delightful.
Yes.
And I am thrilled that I was interviewed.
Yes, well, thank you. It's like you have shared so much wisdom with me through the years that I'm grateful to be able to hopefully share this with others, allow them to see, what I had to experience through the years, and also some of the things when you're talking, it's like, yep, I can tell where I got it from. So, but,
well, they say you turn into your parents whether you want to or not. Huh?
Exactly.
That ever tell you? Lisa said being with you was like being with me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she told me that one day. I said, really? So, hey, I don't know if that was good or bad.
I don't know either, but we'll take
it. Yeah, we'll take it. Yeah.
Yes, well, thank you for all your time, all your wisdom, all your inspiration.
Well, thank you. Like I said, I'm so pleased to be done live long enough to be appreciated, because there'll be some years in there when you don't appreciate your parents so much, including me with mine.
Right. Yeah.
I tell this story all the time about my father. I had the nerve to tell him one time that Dorothy's parents let her do such and such. I think I told Lisa that story, and I said, after I said it, why was I that stupid to open my mouth and say that? Because after that, every time I passed by my father, he said something like, you don't live in their house, you live in their house. I mean, it was a sermon every time. I was about 16 when I was dumb enough to say that.
Right.
Yeah. So we all been there. Yeah. We don't understand what they talking about at the time,
Right.
And you don't understand that you don't understand. Yeah, so it'd be later on, maybe if you live long enough, that you understand. You're like, oh, this is what they was talking about. Yeah. And then you start saying that same stuff to your own children, huh?
Right.
Yep. So, it's been a great ride. So.
Yep. Well, we thank you as the daughters of. It's like we say thank you. It's like with losing dad at such an early age. It's like you got us all grown and got us on our way, and we're grateful.
I appreciate that so very much.
Yeah.
Am I going to ever get a copy of this interview?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Oh, really? Oh, really? Oh, that's lovely.
I am in the process of turning this into the Beauty Superstars Talk, which I didn't actually lead with. It's actually kind of evolved. I've always liked doing interviews and talking to people about their success secrets and finding out more about their lives and what motivates them and inspires them. And I've done little bits and things along the way. But after the George Floyd murder, and all the things that erupted, racially in the country spilled into the industry. And I was on a couple of calls that were, a lot of industry leaders in different parts of the industry. And some of them I knew, some of them I didn't know. And I just left feeling so inspired. And I'm like, people have to know these stories. And so that part of my commitment is to provide a platform where people can share their stories and, have it be a safe space and not where someone else is creating the narrative. So that's what I've been doing. And we've been doing them all by video, but it is going to evolve into like a podcast. So you'll be able to pull it up on Apple and Spotify and different places as well.
All right.
Seeing it on YouTube.
Well, I'm
video ones.
I'm very proud of all your efforts, especially educating people. It's so important.
Yeah.
And especially while people are still alive and people are giving out, misinformation. So it's nice to get it from the horse's mouth.
Exactly.
Yeah. So,
yeah, there's definitely
a lot of misinformation happens.
Yeah, a lot out there. You don't have to look far for misinformation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, keep on with the good work. Keep on with the keeping on.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thank everyone
Bye-bye.
for being here, and we appreciate you.
Love you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.